So we now move on to the next session here, which is going to be a panel discussion. We have 4 CXOs from across different industries coming together for a discussion on the topic India at the forefront of product leadership. To moderate this discussion, I call upon Aniruddha Anantapadmanabha, manager at Vodafone Intelligence Services UK. Aniruddha? Yeah. Let me introduce the panelists, starting with Pradeep Soundararajan. Pradeep is the founder and CEO of Mulya Testing and Bagasura. Okay, I like the name Bagasura. What I really like that is that he calls himself as chief servant. I know, like connecting the dots with what Gopi explained in one of the anecdotes. He calls himself as chief servant of his employees and customers. Now I would like to definitely connect with him on understand that section of the job profile that he has. Please welcome Pradeep Soundararajan. Next, we have KK Mukhi from Network Intelligence. Not only is he a technical consultant and trainer on aspects related to cyber security, but he also has been investigating on a few financial breaches recently. So be aware, don't do anything of that sort. Please welcome KK Mukhi on stage. Our next panelist is Salim Arshad. With vast experience of banking industry in Europe, Salim is currently heading product and technology group at Revolut with the aim of bringing the best of European banking to Indian consumers. I'm curious to hear him considering how advanced our banking has been in India as this. Thank you, Salim. Next up is Gopal Kulkarni, an accomplished entrepreneur and head of Kendra Business Technologies. His flagship product, Resume Fox, is transforming talent acquisition function. He's an anti-corruption, an activist, and a stickler of zero garbage. I welcome you, Gopal. Thank you. So it is time we hear the perspectives of these gentlemen on the stage. Over to you, Ani. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandeep. What an amazing Friday to start with. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome to the forum where this panel discussion is mainly on the Indian frontier of product leadership. And Gopi's insight was mainly focused on the new frontiers of product leadership at a global scale. This discussion will be mainly on India's contribution for the product leadership. So let us begin with thinking of innovation and emerging technologies. So we see that any of the products has been driven from innovations and technological new trends. And there is a lot of AI race over here, and without AI, it looks like what we need to do next. So over to you, Gopal, the first question. So how do you see this phenomenal change impacting the skills and the workforce of today and tomorrow?
So the workforce, in terms of, it has to evolve. There is no choice there, actually. I mean, the situations and the environment will continue to influence us, and we have to evolve. And the previous speaker, Gopi, was right on that there is a phase in everybody's life where rote learning is important because that's where the foundations are built, actually. That's a fantastic point that he made. And then there is going to be some formal education, right, in whatever the trade that one chooses. And in 90% of the cases I have seen, right, that most people do not end up working in the, the trade that they were trained in, right? So I'm an electronics engineer, but today I'm a software engineer for most of my life, right? So somebody else started as was trained as a mechanical engineer, he got into software very early on, and then so that has always been the case. So what is going to be changing is going to be that the change is going to be much faster than what it has been in the past, right? And the society and the people in general is going to adapt for that because there is no choice, right? And it's more exciting also. India today has evolved And so the society today is seeing all these things mainly because of the India wasn't progressing at the rate at, its real potential allows it to or wants to allow. So now there is environment everywhere, right? And India is far more connected with the global, economy as well as the ecosystem. These are going to be evolving, so that I'm not seeing anything new, but our education system has to, change a little bit. That's where the biggest, some of the issues that are there. So irrespective of your question, I'm going to be making some points that are important, I would say, right? So I'm not going to be answering your questions. I'm going to be skipping out of the syllabus or, that way. So pardon me for that. In terms of education, I mean, it's going to change. There's no doubt about it. And the youngsters, I see that, far more smarter, if you think about it, right? So we train our people or we educate our people not to to give a particular answer to a specific question. No, it's about ability to think on their own, right? Ability to be the problem solvers. So that's where some challenges are there. Actually, we are producing lakhs and lakhs. I don't know the number exact, how many engineering graduates we are producing per year, etc. You go into a class of, whatever, the B.Tech final year computer science, and you give them a 6th standard mathematics problem. 6th standard mathematics problem, because this is what our hiring criteria in our company is. We don't ask our candidates, do you know this technology, that technology, do you know how this is done, do you know how the error handling is done, do you know all the kinds of transactions and this and other things. Those are the things that you can learn, anybody can pick up if you, put him on a job. The basic intelligence thing, basic ability to apply their mind and solve problems. You give a 6th standard problem in any college or any society, there is a top 5% who are mind-blowing, and right, they are going to be always there. And then the next 15, 20% is going to be also pretty good, actually. But what are we doing about the remaining 70% or so, right? That's where is the biggest problem, and that's where we have to improve, right? I'm not exaggerating at all. A 6th standard problem is not solved. The first problem that when we are hiring a software engineer, as I mentioned to you, we don't ask any big technology questions, especially when we are hiring freshers. We ask them to write in any language that you're comfortable with, right? First thing we would have asked them, are you, interested in software programming? If we are having, interviewing for a software engineer's position, we ask them, so you are looking for a software engineer's position? Yes, right? So you want to be a developer? Yes, right? So in any language, we give them a choice of 50 languages. How many? 50 languages. Ask them, please write a program to print numbers from 1 to 100. Right? I'm not talking about the top 30% of our engineering graduates. The remaining 70%, we have spent so much, our national resources are spent there on those, educating those people, bringing up to that level, right? Engineering graduate, right? You can easily eliminate about 25% of those people. Asking them to write a program to print numbers from 1 to 100. While we are talking, say for example, India in terms of its technological capabilities, etc., we launched 104 satellites in one rocket. Amazing, right? We have those kind of capabilities, right? We are going to be rolling out 5G from India, right? India is probably one of the, the leaders in the world. If not the top leader, it's going to be one of the key leaders in the globe today who will be launching 5G. But at the other end of the spectrum, right, this is the problem that is existing. If that problem is solved, I think, India can make far more strides. And this is about training and it's about tuning the people. So the rote learning is carrying little too much into a higher education. So that's something that I would say. If that is fixed, automatically the problem that you asked about, people will continue to be self-learning, and today it's AI, machine learning, or tomorrow something else. They will continue to learn because the situation demands, and it's far more exciting for them.
True, even Infosys Narayan Murthy also mentioned something similar to this in one of his speech.
Yeah,
true.
I disagreed with him. He said 70%, I think it is 90%.
Salim, next question for you. In the fintech industry, how do you actually fill this gap of the innovations and technological trends that's happening?
So I mean, fintech has been a recent word now, but banking's existed ever since. I think it's a whole load of things that come together to actually bring an ecosystem that is conducive to innovation. So if you thought about having digital payments before the advent of mass internet, etc., that's something that would have been challenging. Internet was far and few between. It was desktop, etc. But today, for example, the way you use a UPI app, etc., I think it's the deep penetration of internet adoption, awareness, etc., that brings in. So fintech's nothing but traditional banking, but brought together in a more easily consumable format. It has become a part of your life that it doesn't feel like banking anymore. It's about having apps that are very simple to use, fundamentally solving what you do. And that innovation spreads over ideas that people have, ability to make things simpler, cheaper, and more convenient to use. And I think that's what people should be looking to do now. You've got standard technologies. You can't reinvent what UPI has done. You can't fundamentally change it, but you can use the underlying rails to actually come up with better products. And products come from market research, your vision of what the product should look like and feel like. And then actually imagining that if you were the user of that software system or that banking app or that fintech app, do you find it convenient and useful? I think that's where you'd come from.
Sure. Because like having a vision in the products is a key for understanding what next and how we can think more.
Yeah, I think it's about understanding what the infrastructure landscape is, what the regulatory aspect is, what the Indian consumers are looking for, market research, talking to people, trying to actually fill a gap in the market. You can't land a product and expect people to buy it. You've got to see if there's a real gap in the market, trying to understand what's your product differentiator, and I think that's key.
True, differentiator makes a lot of difference. Yeah. And KK, like you come from the cybersecurity background, and it is the need of every industry now. And what do you feel like? Your opinion on India becoming a product superpower? Do you think how it can be, or something, your thoughts on that?
So you mean from developing cybersecurity products?
Yes, that's right.
So over the last 20 years, we've seen this massive shift from cybersecurity, and I run a services company, and I've tried building products and failed proudly. And I've given up now. So we don't no longer develop products. We write scripts and tools to automate what we do, but we don't have dreams of developing any product right now. But I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and startups that are developing some very exciting cybersecurity technologies. And it's an amazing space to be in. It's like a cat and mouse game. You know, every technology that we think we should develop, the bad guys have already done it. So cyber attackers, they're already using AI. They actually post jobs on LinkedIn. They give very nice incentive packages as well. So it's quite a well-developed industry on the other side, for sure. But on the good side, on the side of the good guys, we also have, NASSCOM has this Data Security Council of India, DSCI. DSCI actually incubates, currently they're incubating about 50 plus cybersecurity companies. And while a lot of our focus tends to be on securing fintech products and personal data, banking data, transaction data, because their money is clearly equivalent to data and vice versa. But there's a lot of exciting stuff happening on quantum cryptography. People are developing products on that, on industrial cybersecurity, because I don't know how many of you work on the industrial side of things, developing IoT and Factory 4.0 and industrial automation. So there's a lot of threats coming in over there, and so security has to come in over there as well. People are developing amazing products there. What I believe are the challenges currently, if you look at Israel, for example, which is always our idol, right? Because Israel has this amazing ecosystem where everybody does 4 years in the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, 4-5 years. I think it's compulsory subscription. Not subscription, inscription. So you have to do it there. And obviously, a large part of that goes into developing cyber capability. So you have all of these amazing guys who come out of the IDF, launch their own products, IDF being the first buyer of the product. And then you have their brothers sitting in Silicon Valley who say, okay, if you've got a few customers in Israel, then we'll take you to the US. You hit $1 million revenue in the US, then you get your first set of VCs, and then it just spirals out of control from there. So almost all of the leading cybersecurity technologies that we see today have emerged through this beautiful ecosystem. Okay, if you heard of Checkpoint and Checkmarks and CyberArk and Palo Alto even, which is CEO is an Indian now, right? So that I think is the channel that is missing. While we are developing great products, finally it has to reach the market, and the biggest market is still the US. The other change that we are seeing is the mindset change in the Indian buyers. First, it was always like, no, I'll buy IBM, Cisco, Symantec, McAfee. But now they're like, no, I want to promote Indian products as well. So there is a great receptiveness within the Indian buyer to evaluate and incorporate Indian technology products into the ecosystem. But finally, the biggest market is still going to the US. So if we can figure out this channel, if we can get more Indian companies to reach $1 million ARR in the US, I think it'll just spiral out of control because we've got the talent, we've got the right ecosystem. We're seeing great innovation emerge in this space. We just need that bridge from India to the US to be much stronger.
So deeper the pockets is in the US, so that's where.
For sure, for sure.
So Pradeep, over to you. So with the growing number of unicorns and the vibrant the startups, so what is your thoughts on India becoming a product superpower?
I think India has already become a product superpower from where it started. So if you look at running a race, we have already started 50 kilometers behind a few other Western nations. India is a yoga superpower because we started much ahead and everybody else is catching up to it. Like that, we have different races that we are starting at different points, and I think from that perspective, each of our countries have run a good distance. But since somebody is already ahead in terms of an investment, in terms of the collaboration, in terms of the partnership, I think the key difference between the Bay Area and even now in Bangalore is about the way they collaborate there to the way we collaborate here, the way we partner here. It's still a mindset that we are being brought up with in terms of the focus is just on me. So we do individual appraisals and ask people to behave like a team member. It's not happening. So like that, I think there is a lot of culturally a lot of things that we need to overcome for us to be able to be on par with what US and maybe other countries like he mentioned the Israel and all have already gotten there. So that's what my take would be.
Great, yeah, that I totally agree. Like in another 5 years, I think we can see in a much more faster phase with the collaboration and everything that's happening.
Yes.
Can I just add to that? I think it's very important to understand what we mean by product superpower. I think we've got to really draw that. It's a very broad statement. So it's like, are we going to excel in this? Is it going to be a product that beats something else? Is it innovation? There's various ways to cut it, and I think there's already a lot of areas, like you said, satellites and other things where we're already ahead, and I think this can always change, but our definition is too broad.
True. Because like when we see manufacturing, we see China. So that's how I thought of kind of like if we see products innovation, India should be the one. That's what the superpower I mean. The need of innovation and its impactation is undeniable. So everywhere the innovation and new technologies is going ahead. Along with that, in Indian context, there is another innovation called Jugaad. Yeah. So the products that has been designed to do a specific job, we see that there is a new use case coming up, and even the designers wouldn't have thought like, okay, this is also a kind of use case that even we didn't thought of. So, Salim, what do you think, especially in the fintech industry, which is the most regulated market, have you seen any jugaad in that?
I think as a fintech, the first thing you have to watch out for is the jugaad people do to get or to use your services. Be it loan applications, be it opening of bank accounts, etc. In a regulated space, you've got to always watch out and see, is the ID correct? There's always a jugaad. It's like, I'll get it in my brother's name, I'll get it in somebody else's name. And I think it's the mentality of getting past the system. From a regulation standpoint, I think that's fantastic. I think in the fintech space, if you're a fintech operator, you can't really do jugaad. If you were anything gray, it's black. It's got to be white above board. Anything gray, in my view, as a fintech, is black.
Any thoughts on the fiber security? KK, do you see any jugaad?
Jugaad is our biggest enemy. Okay, let me ask the audience, right? How many of you have delivered a product or delivered an upgrade or an update or a new module and then got a pushback that, oh, we've found some security bugs and now you have to fix these? Anybody been in that position? Yeah? Functionality is amaze. Security is zero, right? Okay. So the core issue is that security is always an afterthought. Okay, because the reason is security comes at a cost. Writing code is easy. Writing secure code takes effort, right? So why should a developer put in that effort? I agree, they should not. Why should you put in even a single minute of extra effort writing additional input validation if you've not been asked to, right? And what we find is very often that these security issues are found at the extreme end of the life cycle when things have gone into production. I remember this one time when a bank information security officer called me up on a Friday and he said, KK, we are going live on Monday. We've got the country's biggest star as our brand ambassador and we've got the whole marketing campaign ready. But as a chief security officer, I cannot allow this mobile app to go live without security testing. So can your guys test it over the weekend? I said, okay, we'll test it over the weekend. We tested it over the weekend. We found what we would call a medium level bug. Okay, if anybody has any background in security, it's called a cross-site scripting issue. Okay, so we found this issue and among other some minor issues. So then he called me on Monday and he said, we are asking the vendor to fix this bug. Can you retest it by end of day today? I said, sure, but aren't you supposed to go live on Monday? He said, no, I've held back the go live. I said, you have millions of dollars of marketing campaign held up on this issue. But he said, no, we have a rule. Medium level issues have to be fixed before go live. Here, probably he could have done jugaad. Because honestly, on a mobile app, that medium level issue is not a path breaking issue. He could have gone live with that. So, but anyway, the point is that the fact that he was told on a Friday that we are going live on Monday means security was so much towards the right of the life cycle. And what we always advise and evangelize is shift security left. Okay. So most of you, I think, have DevOps shops running and lead those DevOps shops. We talk about DevSecOps, right? So security has to become part of DevOps. It has to become ingrained into the CI/CD pipeline through automation, through process change, through training, right? So jugaad is a problem. At least from a security perspective. Jugaad is great from a functionality perspective, but from a security perspective, it can become a real challenge. And not only the cost of fixing a security bug in production is exponentially higher than fixing it at design or requirements gathering. For example, Salim will back me up on this. You develop this great product. The first time most fintechs learn about security is when they go to a bank to integrate. And the bank gives them a 300-point checklist and says, please show me how you comply to this checklist. And they say, oh, we are supposed to encrypt card numbers. Oh, Aadhaar data was supposed to be tokenized. I did not know this. Now you go back and tokenize all of that data. Logging, critical functionality, critical transactions are supposed to be logged. Try adding logging as an afterthought now in your product, right? It's insanely painful. So the cost rises exponentially, and the impact if this bug is exploited can be life and death for a company, right? Especially in highly regulated spaces. If your application has a bug which can lead to leakage of Aadhaar data or leakage of credit card data or fraudulent financial transactions can be done on the app, it could be the end of existence for a small startup. So sorry, this is a pet peeve. So I had a lot to say on this.
Okay, so a quick quote. How many of you are entrepreneurs here? Real entrepreneurs, how many? Okay, at least a few of them. How many of you are into services versus products? Products, how many? Products, oh. Product entrepreneurs? Okay. See, I'll tell you what, I have a slightly different, take on this thing actually, all right? For a guy to become an entrepreneur is a big, leap of faith, right? So let's first do that thing. So whoever is an entrepreneur, I would give a round of big applause for you to, So that's the first thing, right? Do that thing, innovate, you have identified a problem, right? And you are solving that problem, right? And as the gentleman rightly said here, security and other things are, and they are the fag end, because you're trying to solve a problem, right? Security typically comes at the, the fag end of the product development, right? No matter what, how much you try to inculcate that and imbibe those things and other things is definitely going to be happening, because here you have a customer problem and you are designing a product and you are solving a problem, right? There are plenty of jugaads that you do. To give our own example, very recently we had given our product to somebody, right? They were out to this thing, and we had never expected that they will do a security testing on that thing, right? And then they, decide to go in for a VAPT testing, right? My friend would know about what a VAPT testing is. And we spoke about jugaad, right? So the mind which runs in jugaad mode or in innovative mode to build that product in the first place, and I was amazed at the speed at which our engineers did the jugaad to take care of all the VAPT issues in less than about 4 days of time. A huge code base, and all of the security concerns. Okay, you do the VAPT testing now. So it's a balance, I would say. Security and a few other things, compliances and other things, your product can get knocked off, right? So the first thing, the CISO, when you're trying to sell a product to any larger company, basically you have a huge checklist and things like that, right? You have to, functional is one thing, functionally beautiful, and other things is the primary thing, because otherwise they wouldn't have chosen your product in the first place. And then the other people come, how does it fit on my infrastructure? How is it in terms of security and other things? Definitely you have to take care of that thing. But let those things not bother you or swerve you from the path of innovations. Continue to innovate, continue to do whatever you want. Be committed to solving the problems of the end customer that you have in mind, right? So jugaad is important. Jugaad is important in fixing these kind of security issues and security concerns as well. And who knows, some of those jugaads actually will, spurt new products actually, and it has in our case, I would say. So any challenge that an entrepreneur sees is an opportunity for him or her. And when we talk about India at the, the product leadership, these are the kinds of thoughts, or these are the challenges that will actually encourage the people to think outside of their normal jobs and other things to become real entrepreneurs, right? So those are my...
It's an intelligence of Indian people, like how to do jugaad.
I think just adding to that, I think it's about the industry you're in and the type of product you're delivering, whether you decide you want to be on a scale of 0 to 100 on security. You've got a static website that publishes information, SSL is not required. You could be as basic as possible. Yeah, it's about measuring risk. And if you're trying to get in as an entrepreneur into a regulated space and you say, forget about security, we'll think about it later, then you're dead from the word go.
Yeah, you need to, first of all, you should be aware of what industry you are in and what product space you are in, and you have to basically, take the minimum cases. I'm not saying that you should be completely ignorant or you should completely avoid even thinking about those things, but in case you are hit with certain problems at different stages, and no matter what, irrespective of what industry, what product space you are in, you'll always hit into some problems at the fag end, right? Security you could have addressed, but something else, right? Somebody else comes up with a last minute, a competitor could come up and thwart the entire deal that you are planning to close with a particular customer. So an entrepreneur's life is always filled with challenges every single day. And that's what we should thrive in. And I think the new generation that I'm seeing, more and more products are coming up in our country. So that's what we'll all thrive on. And we will definitely, we are leaders, we are there, we will be bigger leaders, I would say.
True, true. And yeah, Pratik.
Yeah, being the silent guy on this panel. So in my last trip to the US, I spent 2 days just observing why is US. And it was truly fascinating, and I understood that they are optimized for quality and safety. India is optimized for efficiency. As a part of efficiency, we are going to do a lot of jugaad. As a part of quality and safety, they are going to spend a lot of time doing the right things and all of that stuff. So launching a fintech product in India to launching a fintech product in the US has a huge difference, even from a security perspective, even from everything perspective. So why do Indians do jugaad? Because by nature, we are optimized for efficiency. So thank you for that.
That's what really insight. And Pradeep, do you see Make in India for the world is happening at the scale it is supposed to happen?
Supposed to is not determined by us. So from that perspective, I think people are doing it, thanks to these, nice words that are coming up of, Make in India and stuff like that. There is a lot of great things happening over here, and I think, some of these folks are going to be entrepreneurs, even if they are not, today, right? So let me ask a different question. How many of you who are not entrepreneurs want to be product entrepreneurs? Just raise your hands. Okay, look at that. That's what's going to happen to India. So there is going to be a lot of, Make in India that happens. And I think that's going to go global scale. So we are looking at the future here. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Salim. Now we saw the rise of UPI. What do you think, what is the next big thing that's going to happen in fintech?
I think it's the use of, I think UPI has been a brilliant system in India. It's brought finance to the grassroots. With the RuPay coming in, etc., I think it's great trends to avoid the Visa and MasterCard and the global monopolies. I think having a homegrown ecosystem is very good for the Indian economy. It gets, you're able to, with the initiatives the government, the RBI, etc. are doing, it's about delivering fair-priced solutions to the Indian consumers, not having rip-off charges, and actually bringing things like buy now, pay later, installment schemes, etc., but also adding a lot of ethical sense into it, and ethical lending and all of those things will come in and actually make things better for the Indian consumer.
Okay. Gopal, since you come from the background of the workforce kind of thing, so the World Economic Forum says that whatever the skill set that we have today is irrelevant in the next 5 years. So what does you see the skill landscape heading to?
I kind of slightly disagree with that, because if you look at Java was there 20 years back. It still exists today. It's pretty relevant. There's a lot of technologies that are from the 60s still being used. I think technology is a means to solve a problem, and you can never get rid of legacy. Things become legacy in 5 years, so you always need stuff. So people will keep coming. There will be people that learn newer technologies, work in a different area. That will become legacy in a while, and people will adapt, cross-sell. But I think saying that technology becomes obsolete is a very incorrect thing. It's always relevant. COBOL is very relevant to maybe a bank that still runs a mainframe. To them, that's a very relevant system. So it's about understanding what you want to do, what you want to solve, and picking the right technology to solve it. We've heard of blockchain in the last couple of years. I don't think it's a silver bullet to solving every problem. It solves a certain scenario under certain constraints. So also there will be new things that come in and answer questions. And for example, you can't replace ChatGPT with what your doctor has to do, because you can't say, I'll actually ask, I have a medical health issue, I'll ask ChatGPT. Doctors will become obsolete. I don't think that works that way.
Gopal, what is your thoughts on that?
Right. So yeah, first of all, we are as a company, we are not so much into resourcing ourselves. We are not a recruitment firm, but we make software for recruitment and onboarding, and we sell it to large enterprises. So several large enterprises are dependent on our platform for their recruitment and onboarding thing, right? So we have few technologies and other things, and so we have made it. We kind of transform the talent acquisition function of enterprises. That's our business. Okay. Now, in this thing, the skill sets required, the change in the skill sets required, that what you're talking about, and it will change much faster, I would say, right? So the change is going to be, the rate of change is going to be much higher, basically. Change, basically. Second order, third order change that we're talking about is going to be much higher, and that is going to be dictated by the kind of businesses that are going to come up globally, in India also. And because newer and newer businesses come up and newer skill sets are required actually, right? So people will have to keep learning new skills, and all those things are there. What I see as a change in the landscape that is possible, that is, and I thought it will happen much sooner, right? And it has started happening, is the traditional sense of, or the way of employment is going to change quite a bit, I would say, right? So even today, we have a lot of people who are like, there are large companies and there are employees of the companies, right? So each one is given a role in that company and people continue to work as employees. This is gonna change quite a bit is what I'm thinking. So there's going to be a rise of more and more gig workers, right? So you have a skill sets and I have, a particular expertise and other things. I will give my expertise to multiple companies, right? So that is going to evolve, and that is going to change the how companies are going to find the resources and do their job. That's what I'm saying. The moonlighting and other things, the controversies and other things that they came up actually. So you cannot hold people as your asset. Like a single company cannot hold an employee or a person as their asset for all the time. So he has an expertise. He will want to have more freedom, and that is the kind of employment terms or the terms of engagement with the company that most people will come up with. In the US, we have seen this happening a lot before, but in India, this is going to be at a bigger scale, I would think, right? So especially with the work from home and other things coming in, technologies which are coming into enabling this gig economy thing. So that is going to happen. So, but skill set changing, it has always been thing. Maybe they were changing every 5 years, 6 years. Maybe now they'll change every 2 years or something like that. But that's what I might take.
Thank you, Gopal. One last question, then we'll move to the Q&A session. So Pradeep, you wrote an amazing book called Buddha in Testing, Finding Peace in Chaos. With the workforce set to undergo the chaotic situations, how do you think one should find peace?
How do you think one should find peace? What a question to ask in a product forum, right? So, yeah, I'll try to answer that as best as I can. I think finding peace is only possible with two things happening. One is if we are in constant search. Constant search of the next idea, next job, next, bigger pay, next, technology. We are always going to be anxious. We are never going to find peace. Okay. The second thing is also about the clarity part of it. So the clarity comes when you are narrowing down the chances. So why do we all, look at entrepreneurs in a very different ways? Because they don't have any other choice. They are not entrepreneurs because, because they have, too many choices. So if you ask me, him, and probably a few others, our options are very limited in life, right? So then comes the clarity. So I think we all have to narrow down our, the choices that we have, for us to be able to achieve that calm and, peace within us. So that's what I would say. Thank you.
Open for Q&A questions. Anyone has?
topic we were... This one better? Yeah. Okay, so we were just talking about finding peace and how you were saying if you were constantly looking for the next job or for the next opportunity or the higher pay or something, it's difficult to be at peace. But then if we were all looking for peace, we would not be at the Product Leaders Forum, right? Like, for example, in order to attend this, I had to disturb my peace and I traveled from Delhi and I lost, a lot of sleep over coming here and, did many changes. So definitely disturbed my peace to come here and look for and connect with people. So if we are to be at only peaceful, then how are we going to look for opportunities or look for these kind of, events that connect us with other people, right?
Thank you. Thanks for this great question. So there are two reasons why people learn. Learn for the joy of it, learn because they need something. If you are traveling for the need and not for the joy, then there is no peace that will come within. If you have traveled for the joy, then the sleep that you had to let go is actually going to give more calmness, more peace, is how I'd like to think about. So, thank you for that.
Anyone has any questions?
On products if possible.
Yeah. We are done with the philosophy section of the panel.
One question.
Yeah, the question I have here is it's related to a combination of many topics we touched upon: security, compliance, regulation, innovation. How do you see the trend in the crypto space, especially for India, with this combination? What are your thoughts on that?
First, from a security perspective, and then I'll talk to you.
There's so many angles to the crypto.
Yeah, it's.
Do you invest? Do you have crypto investments?
Yeah,
Why? Why do you invest in crypto?
I wanted to be.
That's one way to lose peace of mind, no? Invest in crypto.
Yes, that's true.
So I think blockchain as a concept, it has massive implications, right? And we're still at the cutting edge of discovering where all blockchain can apply. So I would say I would blockchain as a technology or a concept and learn more about it and delve deeper into that than think too much about crypto. Personally, I have mixed views on it. I don't invest in crypto for no particular reason, but it's an asset class that I don't feel attracted toward. I think India has I used to feel that India has taken too harsh a stand on crypto by blocking it or making it very difficult to actually, it's not easily fungible, right? You can't trade back and forth. But then we're also launching the digital rupee. So the government clearly sees value in digital currency. And then all these scams came. The latest being the Sam Bankman-Fried FTX scam. So maybe then Nirmala Sitharaman had some sense in what she was doing, I would say. So right now I'm on the fence. First I was like, we're being too harsh about it, blocking everything and making it too difficult to trade, exchange and build crypto products. But now I feel maybe it does need some regulation. But blockchain is a different discussion from crypto. So I hope, everybody's clear on that, right? Sure. Crypto is just one application of blockchain. So I don't know if I answered your question, but it's kind of what multiple thoughts I have in my head related to this. Yeah. And also crypto exchanges are fantastic attack targets for hackers. They don't believe in security. Yes. They love to get hacked. $100 million of wallet stolen is like nothing. Like, okay, fine, we'll refund. Or they go and actually bargain with the attackers and then get 50 million back. And then, amazing. So we also love crypto exchanges as customers. Lot of forensics, breach response we have to do over there.
Okay.
I think...
But from an innovation point of view, how do you see that? Yeah.
You had so this is what I call copycat products. Bitcoin was the first. It was a cryptocurrency that came on a blockchain and evolved in a certain way. After that, everything is a cryptocurrency. And now everybody says, okay, actually, I will have my own crypto coin. what people are riding is on a hype wave, and you've got to realize everybody's making money in crypto. Let's go and buy crypto, and depending on what cycle you're on, you'll either make money or not make money. It was supposed to be a medium of exchange, but unfortunately it's become an asset. So I'd say anybody investing in crypto is if you're naive about crypto, it's as good as buying stocks without really knowing what you're buying. I think it's a gamble but if you really understand it and follow it, and you make a sense of how you think the cycle's moving, you could trade on it. I think Europe and other places have started now having income tax on earnings that you get off crypto. So I think certain governments have found that it's a cool way to make extra income. People make money, somebody loses, somebody gains, and I think it's cool. But I think there's a slight difference between what the digital rupee, the way the digital rupee comes about. It's not really blockchain; it's a different sort of technology. You've got versus a pure cryptocurrency. I think there's slight differences in that.
Thanks.
Very quickly. In the process of developing a product, you start with a concept, go to proof of concept, prototype, and then final commercial deployment. And in this process, you need elements of theory, technology, standards, and public policy. Now, do you feel there is a need to integrate all of these elements together to define and develop your product? And has the industry come up with a framework to integrate all of these elements, theory, technology, standards, policies?
So I'll take the first stab at that. I think it depends on the type of product you're innovating. So you could be building something more on the manufacturing side, and then you've got to look at what tool sets, etc., and who's done it previously. So I think it's a collection of items. Depending on how the entrepreneurs or product managers go about it, you could start left to right, or right to left, picking different things. I think it's all got to sort of come together, whether the market's conducive enough to accept your product, security features built in, do you have the right audience for it, is it priced appropriately, and does it actually solve a purpose? I mean, typical example would be Videocon with a PIP television way back in the 80s when you had only one channel. So it's like product ahead of its times, or starting internet banking when internet was slow. But things catch up. But it's about having a product that fits in with what the market conditions for it are, and you've got to be really lucky with that as an entrepreneur, I guess. There's effort and there's a timing of the product.
We'll take one last question.
Yeah, so one of the things that came up while we were discussing the workplace trends was the rise of the gig economy. I wanted to understand, do we see this being regulated? Because today we have certain websites through which, people can freelance, but this is not really regulated. So do we see employers moving more towards such kind of positions which are maybe short-term and not really long-term ones?
Yeah, it's basically, this is not any new model by any this thing, right? Stretch away. We have always been having freelancers or contractors, basically, right? So when I hire a contractor, right, or somebody for a specific job, right? So we define what is expected of that person, right? So we define it very well, and we set the terms of engagement. Obviously, certain times most of the times, certain things cannot be very well defined, but then you put your appropriate, terms and conditions that you call and other things. You cannot use this in some ways. So based on the exact situations, companies going forward, at least about 25% of their workforce is going to be the gig things, is what I'm thinking about. Yes, it's finding skill sets on a full-time basis for your own company might get difficult, etc., etc. So gig economy workers or gig workers or contractors, consultants. So that is going to increase, is my thinking. And so how do you connect this? So I have, as a company, I have, say, for example, I want to integrate ChatGPT with my thing, right? So our company may not have that expertise, but there is a consultant or somebody who is this thing, right? So so how do I find that person, for example, and how does he find me as a customer, for example? For those, There will be some, some platforms that will evolve for that things, and existing platforms may, elevate, or like a Naukri may start coming up with, okay, gig economy workers or gig workers, apply here and other things, and there is a separate section for, the employers to find the gig workers. So those things are regulations. I'm not sure. I mean, because I don't think any much change, but each transaction, each thing will have to be legally protected for sure. And companies will definitely want to protect, especially because, they have their IPs and other things that they're answerable for.
Just add to that. I've lived in Europe for many years. I lived in the UK for the last 17 years. And gig economy or contract workers are very, very common there. And they fill the gap between consultancies and employees. And they sort of get paid between that. And I think it's a lifestyle option. So there's only certain types of roles that come in there, and there's not much career progression. So I guess it's a question of, as an employee, what you want to achieve. And do you see yourself as a career path, or are you here to fill a work-life balance? Do you want to work a couple of months in a year? So I've had people that work the summer in London and move away somewhere else for the winter, and that can happen with the gig economy. Again, it's the question of what risk appetite do you have as an employee, that you've got a mortgage to pay where you need monthly income, or are you going to be, you can't have the best of both worlds. And I think that's where a lot of these questions are coming from. And it's a question of how the ability to chart your own career path. And I think these are things people need to take into cognizance before they do it. So what I see in the Indian market, what we've been reading is people want a secure job, but also have a side hustle. And they're trying to get a best of both. I mean, there's pros and cons to both. And I don't think this is the forum to debate that.
Thank you. So let us end this panel discussion with one word of guidance from each one of you for the aspiring product leaders. What would that be, from you?
I think I didn't mention some resources for software security that might be helpful to the audience. So one of the go-to sites that you can look at is owasp.org, owasp.org. You can get a lot of great content in terms of secure design, secure development, secure coding standards, security testing, etc., the entire life cycle. And even if you don't develop on Microsoft platforms, Microsoft actually does amazing stuff in terms of software security. So they have a whole section on SSDLC, which is Secure Software Development Lifecycle. So a lot of great resources, tools on threat modeling, risk assessments, testing, etc. So I think I've evangelized shifting left enough already. I just thought I'd share some practical sites or resources for the people. Yeah.
What about you, Pradeep? One word.
One word? I would say being fearless. That's what I would like to end there.
What you, Salim?
A phrase rather than a word. It's about a gap in the market every entrepreneur should be looking for.
So the word I will have is Atmanirbhar, okay? And it has a lot of sense actually. So let me elaborate on that. And in every product forum, I'll give this thought, at least in some way, right? So as enterprises or companies, large companies in India, they use a lot of different softwares. And I'll talk about enterprise softwares, the retail and the other thing. Consumer software is a different thing actually. So there are plenty of enterprise applications our companies use. And of them, there are certain software, for example, your operating systems or your database servers and these kinds of things are like, they require huge investments over a long period of time to mature and to be able to work at scale and things. At the same time, there are plenty of applications and other things that enterprises use. For example, the simplest one I will give you is a human resource management system, HRMS, which is an employee database management, employee lifecycle management, or a customer service, a customer relationship management software, or an accounting software. These are the classes of enterprise applications which are available dime a dozen in India and which are very, very good, I would say, right? We can match up to any of the global products. Say, for example, HRMS. Why do you need an SAP, a SuccessFactors, or a Workday, or somebody else to come and sell these kind of HRMSs in India? There are plenty of, there are about, the last count, there are about 4,000 HRMS vendors in India. Not everybody is at the same standard as SAP and other things. SAP, if somebody has analyzed it, has huge number of downsides. It's not one of the best product, but they have done a wonderful job of marketing themselves. I'm not speaking, there are plenty of representatives here from different MNCs and other things I'm saying. So where it is possible, and this is a policy, and we have to bring about the change in culture also. Indian enterprises should first see if there is an Indian product available, right? So there is there's some of them competitors, I'll mention them. Say, for example, Darwin Box is one of the very good, HRMS. There is a Adrenaline HRMS. There is a Ramco HRMS. At the top level, as last count, there are about 4,000 HRMS vendors in India. So why do you need Indian enterprises to be implementing these things, right? Or in accounting, for example, Tally did a wonderful job. It held the market for a very long time. They didn't, upgrade, whatever it is. But then there are is such a class of software where a lot of Indian entrepreneurs can thrive, actually. I know Intuit is one of the sponsors of this event, but I'm still saying that Atmanirbhar is the word which encourages the Indian entrepreneurs to produce more and more. And that's one way for India to be at the product forefront. Because we, the Indian entrepreneurs, should get an equal opportunity in participating, because we don't have this so much of marketing dollars, if you think about it. So this is what I would like to talk.
Thank you, Gopal. It has been an enriching and energizing session. Thank you, guys. And I'm sure there is one thing everyone has in their mind as a bonus to keep thinking and keep looking whatever the guidance the CXO panel has given. Thank you, folks. Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I call upon Murugadas, my co-chair in the event, to give away and felicitate the speakers here.